All right, we're back, and this time I've got someone who's become a good friend of mine. His name is Max. I'll let Max introduce himself. Max, welcome to Growth Amplifier. Why don't you tell people a little bit about yourself?
Thank you for having me. I'm Max. I am a subscription guy specialized in subscription retention. Originally, sort of like came into my own at DoorDash, helping to build DashPass, and did a couple of years at AG1, building out their retention group. And I'm now running e-commerce at Oats Overnight. On the side, I do a variety of side projects. I've built a Discord community that's small, about 100, 200 people, mostly helping with professional networking and just general community. I write on Substack, and I've become passionate about that. Have a small, 250 person audience. And then now I'm starting to launch my own business, actually selling Pokemon cards. So definitely have things going on in the day job, but also I'm a creator and entrepreneur on the side.
Yeah, and I heard maybe number 2 is on the way from a baby perspective, right?
Yes. Definitely experiencing dad life. Have a daughter, almost 2 years old, and my wife and I are expecting our second any day now.
That's awesome.
Boy.
Congrats on that. It's going to be awesome. And I think you'll get, it sounds like you're going to get a little bit of time to hang with the baby. So that sounds fun too. Nice.
Very excited.
Yeah. Well, you're into a lot of stuff. I mean, what I love is that, you worked at a couple of brands that I think a lot of people from the outside look at and say, hey, there's a couple of brands that are doing some really interesting stuff, that have grown tremendously over the last 5-10 years. What's your sense of like fast growth, and not getting into any specifics about the different companies, but what's your sense of fast growth and how you manage it, and how it kind of comes about, as you're a leader in these different companies, and you're kind of trying to manage fast growth. What is that like?
Yeah, I thought a little bit about this. There's two sort of things that come to mind. One is luck is when preparation meets opportunity. And two is there's this guy, Justin Jackson, who's like a indie entrepreneur. He has a newsletter, and what he writes about is or has written about is that to build a business, it's a lot easier when you're like when you're entering an existing market, when there's like that demand there, instead of like trying to create a new category. I think like how you define market is somewhat complicated. So, but the idea being that there should be some like pent up demand for something that you are like you're bringing a solution to market for.
Yeah.
So, so you obviously have to have like specific knowledge or experience that can help you identify where that might be.
Yeah.
And so I think the high growth companies that I've worked for, each had a founder that, based off of their own experience and specific set of knowledge, has identified one of these, and then also back that up with a really relentless set of principles in terms of how to operate and execute. As somebody who's worked for firms like high growth firms, the thing that always I found the most interesting was like periods of hyper growth are often met with like hyper fixation internally in being able to operate against that opportunity. What I mean is like there are teams or there are people that have like really ambitious goals, and they work hard to achieve them. And yes, the opportunity is there. So for DoorDash, say COVID, right, and everybody ordering online.
Yeah.
But then it's also met with like an action that is like, we are going to get like every restaurant on the platform. Like somebody had to say that, and then go do it.
Yeah.
In addition to the timing being right. So, I don't know. I guess like I think it's both, right? There's that opportunity there, but also like you have to be the type of person that is going to be willing to like raise your standard and update your thinking, and then back it up with action to like actually capture it when the opportunity presents itself.
Yeah.
That seems to be like a core part of what it means to be a firm.
I think it's great. I think it's I love that. I want to talk a little bit about the founder principle stuff too. I think that's super intriguing. What's interesting, so like the first thing you said, there's an author, his most famous book, I think it's a kind of a generalist book, but it's David Epstein, and he was just on Tim Ferriss, and he talked about exactly what you said. And I think he, at some point, was on stage with Malcolm Gladwell where they were kind of debating that 10,000 hour rule, and where kind of luck enters the equation. And one of the things he said that I love is like, how do you jump up at the opportunity when it comes and take advantage of it? And that kind of makes sense based on, I never thought about this, but it sort of makes sense with what you're saying about these founders, because they're kind of like, all right, I got this opportunity, let's go get it. And I think it takes really smart people like you who can go get it done, right? And I know you're in the mix of it again, and so tell me a little bit about that. What is that like? Is it kind of like you're figuring a lot of stuff out, but you've got good ideas, you feel like the market fits right, you've got enough like gut instinct to kind of make it work?
Yeah, there's something when I was interviewing for the job at AG1 and I was leaving DoorDash. So, we're post IPO. My RSUs are liquid. I could keep, growing there, and getting more RSUs, and it was great money. And then I was going to leave this to join this supplement company, and be on the leadership team, which was new for me. It was the first time I had experienced that, so I could make that change, and I wasn't sure. I was very conflicted. Right. As I was looking at, celebrity marketed CPG brands, the story of Daily Harvest sort of crossed my desk, and, it made me realize how exposed a brand can be when, they're leveraging influencer strategy to drive growth. And that made things feel a little bit riskier, especially for AG1 being one SKU.
Right.
So, they're pretty concentrated, which makes it a riskier bet. And then I said this to the founder when he was interviewing me, Chris, and I said I had this reservation. He was like, listen, when anything good comes your way, right? Like the most important, one of the core values of being at AG1 is being courageous and to overcome that fear, to really capture the opportunity in front of you. It was the first time I ever heard courage be a company value. I'm somebody who like really believes in corporate values. So this was like interesting to me, and it helped me make the decision to join. I was like, okay, I can probably learn from somebody like this. Yeah. And I did, and I learned a ton from him. And so I think where I'm going with this is ultimately there's an element of fear that I think a lot of people have. It's, I can't send this email because I don't want to, look bad, or I can't speak my mind, or I can't say this thing. And all of that just like gets in the way of being able to innovate and create progress.
Yep.
And it takes a healthy amount of bravery to like work through all of that when there are all these people in your surrounding who, that many of them, aren't in that same place, right? They are afraid to say certain things, and they do conform, and they move through the norms and of how a company operates.
Right.
So I work a lot on this, and I try to overcome fear. Now, anytime I'm afraid to do something, I'll like just send the goddamn email or say the thing or speak up. And there's always risk that comes with that. And I feel like I'm betting my reputation constantly on the things that I say. but I feel like on the other side of it is me going after things that I believe in, that I know that I can execute well. And you have to have some skin in the game to be able to capture opportunity. And so I'm doing that. And because of it, I've found a lot of success in a lot of in the things that I've sort of gone after. I don't have 100% success rate, but I have better than average. And I think it comes from, being bold, not being scared. And, obviously it's both gut, but also experience and failing and looking at data. And so all of the same information sources that people have. But at its core, it's being unafraid, or not being afraid, actually, it is experiencing the fear and then jumping to go after the thing that you believe in.
Yeah. I love it. I think it's, I think hopefully listeners and other people on your team take advantage of what you're saying, which is, I think we do live in a little bit of it depends on the corporate environment. Maybe the environments you've been in, there's a little more risk taking. I don't know, but some of the corporate environments that I've worked in, like let's say Humana or McDonald's, it's like there's a lot to protect from a brand and a company perspective. They're already public. They're already, been around for years and have a lot to protect. And I think sometimes that, in a bad way, can manifest into a lot of fear-based behavior. And so, but at the same time, those companies, even if they've been around a long time, they actually need to be bold, right? Because the market's changing constantly. And people like AG1 or DoorDash are rewriting the rules, right? Maybe not massive rules, but at this point, delivery is, is massive, right? And so in the beginning, it could have started out of a small piece of the pie, and now it's a massive piece of how we experience restaurants. So I think it's important, right? Across the board, whether you're starting or, is my point, or you're a legacy brand, it's like you have to kind of match boldness with intense curiosity is kind of how I think about it. I don't know if that resonates.
Yeah, definitely.
Tell me a little bit about your curiosity. We're living in an age where it's like, there's just an onslaught. A lot of people I talk to, onslaught of information left and right. And I think it can be easy to sort of shut down a little bit, there's like too much information, there's too much going on, or get just overwhelmed, and kind of not be able to like precisely figure out what's going on. Kind of the same, I guess that's the same thing. So tell me how you are, and you work in a pretty data rich environment on things that have some, can have data signals, right? Subscription businesses, et cetera. So tell me a little bit about how you think about that.
Ultimately, like, I try to do what I love. And I think I thankfully do work that I love. And because I love it, it makes me more curious, right? And you have to be in a space where you're like, my mind is right, I'm happy. And like, that's where the creativity sort of flourishes, and you can ask more questions and deeply think about stuff. So baseline is I'm happy, right? And then because of that, I can be curious.
Yeah.
And also, just for context, I married a research scientist. So my wife, naturally studies things, and that's part of our, like, I value that, and we value learning in our family. So maybe there's some self-selection bias here in being able to answer this question.
You're learning it most of it. She's talking about research, you're like, what? And then you're like,
yeah, exactly. And also being a dad now, like, you constantly see your kids, or this, which is fairly new to me, seeing kids sort of learn in front of, like, in real time, and to observe that. So that's very cool. But I'm always reading and trying and experimenting, listening to audiobooks, listening to podcasts, talking to people. I think actually that is probably the area of learning that I'm doing the most right now, which I've always sort of prioritized in my career, but really over the last 12 to 18 months has sort of picked up as I built my Discord and joined other communities,
Yeah.
you can learn from other people. It's pretty interesting. You just talk to people and you can learn. And then at the same time, like you can learn from watching TV. You can learn from, so I'm very like, I'm always learning because I'm always thinking. I'm very introspective, but what I learn from can be from all sorts of different kinds of sources. Like, if it's at the grocery store, paying attention to what's on the shelf, or if it's trying something that works. So a lot of people will talk about, like they'll ask you like, what's on your reading list?
Yeah.
And like, I've always felt like that answer never really suited me. Like, people will ask, what did you read? How did you learn this thing? And I'm like, I don't know, I was probably like watching Star Wars or something and like thought about something. Yeah. And I think there's just like, how do you like immerse yourself in the things that you're doing and be present, and then think about what you are learning and what it might mean to you. Yeah. So I'm also the type of person who like, I love music. I'm obsessed with all sorts of types of music, but I don't remember any of the lyrics, right? I'm like somebody who feels the music, like very into the sound. And I think something about me is like, I think there are these higher level concepts, like it's like what you're doing and then what it ultimately means. Yeah. That sort of is abstracted from the information itself. And that abstraction can serve a purpose for you as you move through the world. Yeah. So I'm always doing this with different aspects of like my life experiences and trying to find associations and patterns and connections and thinking that happens from like how I live my life, just being present and trying to work on that. Yeah. So I think my curiosity manifests in that way, which is probably a bit unique, but like that just works for me in terms of like how my body operates and how I think. And I think everybody should find their own version of that instead of trying to learn in a way that somebody tells you have to learn, right? You ultimately picking up your own unique style of learning. And then as long as you approach it with like love and care, you're probably going to get like a lot more value out of that versus try to do something differently. Yeah,
I love it. That's so good. I mean, a lot of that resonates with me personally. I mean, I'm not too dissimilar to that. And I do want to talk about music because I'm a huge music fan. So let's get to that in a second. But the one thing I want to say is like, Charlie Munger had this concept in his almanac that he wrote, which was use all, and he was like this too. And, so he'd read about history, philosophy, or I think he went really deep on psychology. He talks about, because he felt like the field of psychology was essentially not represented the right way. And so one of the things he talks about is like, take all your thoughts. And again, his core, he was a lawyer and then an investor. So his core thing was like law and then investing. But he used all that thinking, which was all over the place, right? And he used it and he said, you're creating a lattice of thought that you apply, and it's your kind of your way, right? And the more you learn, the more you feel it. And it's nice to have diversity in there because, I mean, look, it's not that we know everything about marketing or everything about subscription businesses, but you're just trying to use these other things to be like, well, there's this one time in history, and this is an interesting learning about what's going on now, right? And so you're trying to use that. So I think that's great. I mean, I think sometimes we have a bit of a short-term burst. There's a lot of short-term bursts right now, and I like that. I think it's fine. It's frankly, a good balance with me. Like I can do some deep thinking, I can do this, but I can do some short-term, and people who are a little bit more short-term, but I think we need to come together mutually. And that's what I think great teams are sometimes. It's like, you've got a balance of good talents. Anyway, I don't know if that resonates with you at all with what Munger is saying, and if you've read about it, but it's certainly a fun thing to think about. Let's talk about music a little bit. I'm interested. What kind of music are you into? I want to talk about this. I'm into a few types of music, but you go first. You're the guest on the pod, so you into? Yeah.
lots of different things. I love deep house music. Anything in Juna Deep.
Yeah.
I also love Afro beats.
Nice.
And I'm also, there's an artist I'm listening to now a lot is Kez. He's a Caribbean from Trinidad, and he has an unbelievable band. I like reggae and country and mariachi.
Nice.
And honestly, anything that sounds good, I will sort of explore. There's a lot of music in my family. My grandfather was an opera singer.
Wow.
My grandma was went to Juilliard and was a concert pianist. My dad and my grandparents played in a family band. And my dad plays drums. I grew up playing guitar. Not very good. And there's music elsewhere in my family. So just always like, that's part of like who I am and my upbringing. And I think because of that, like just sort of like listening to stuff and
Yeah.
I don't know. I also found like a lot of like as I moved through the different stages of life, relying on music to sort of keep my spirits high and sort of connected, with that. But I also love hip hop. So it's just interesting mix. What about you?
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting mix for me too. I listen to a lot of indie rock, classic rock, hip hop, a lot of jazz, classic jazz. So those are kind of like the ones I go to a lot. So, like for indie rock, it's like, Young the Giant, The Strokes. For classic rock, it's like Led Zeppelin, Beatles, really any classic rock. I've been recently, Bruce Springsteen has been fun for me.
I just saw him at Madison Square Garden with my dad. Yeah.
How was it?
I think it was an amazing show, actually.
That's awesome.
I think it was our fourth or fifth show together.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, he's just like, I don't know, every like YouTube live, I've never seen him, but every live YouTube thing I see, it's like, he just brings it, like
He's really good.
yeah. And the whole band brings it. The whole band is good. And yeah. And there's just something, like you need a sax solo, like, you know what I mean? Like there's something like
But
so good,
he was also playing at Madison Square Garden with Tom Morello. I love listening to Rage.
Yeah.
And his guitar solos were ridiculous.
I follow Tom on Instagram and it's just awesome. Yeah. Like his son's in a band with him and he's doing all kinds of cool stuff. I just like following him. I think he's got an interesting life and I like seeing him, like he'll just be in his house playing guitar. I play guitar as well. I'm not very good either. I'm no, no professional musician, but I've played since I was a kid and
Oh, cool.
yeah, I enjoy it. And I come from a little bit of a musical family. I think we more have a love of music. No one's been properly schooled on it. I think we all love music and it's for the same thing you said. It's like when a song hits in the right mood, it's like, it's perfect,
Yeah, 100%.
And I think musical artists just have a great way of, like Bruce is a great example. Like the stories he writes are just great. Like he really knows how to write a song that really gets you to feel that person, that you're understanding that person's life, and that's kind of unique. You know what I mean? I think, it's a hard thing to do. So
Yeah. I'll take it a little different direction. I think that's how being a writer on Substack is very much, I feel like, for me, brings like that creativity and artistry from like that I have in the stories of my family and sort of bringing it into like a professional context. But really,
yeah,
it feels similar. And I think something that I talk to folks on my team about is like how we as a society have not nurtured creativity properly, because people who are creative think that the only way to be creative is to be in a creative field.
Yeah.
Like there's a way to express creativity in other avenues, and it's really ultimately like a feeling that you bring to expressing yourself in your work.
Yeah.
And I think actually this deep love of music is something that helps me tap into that, and then express it in a unique way.
I think it's great. Yeah. Yeah. And I think what you'll find, this was from Sanjay Gupta, but he found that the brain, you have more happiness induced when you are allowing yourself to be creative. You don't have to. I mean, clearly you come from a talented family, right? Juilliard, opera singing, but in my case, or in anybody's case as an amateur, writing and creating just taps into a different part of the brain where it can explore. And that's very healthy for you. Especially, for longevity reasons, when you get older, where it's very easy not to have that part of your brain tapped, it's even more important. So yeah, I love it. I think it's great. It's great that we both love music. I'm just like, it kind of came up randomly. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I actually am somebody who I can't work when I listen to music, so I don't get as much of it, but
Yeah.
I do make the time to keep up with it. Actually, every Friday on my end of week team call, I basically am DJ. I'll play one song each week and make them listen to my music.
That's awesome.
And now it's become a part of like the team culture.
Good. Yeah, that's fun, man. That's great. I mean, it's one thing you can all share is like, yeah. And I love that there's so many different genres and so many different things you can tap into. And I'm like you, I hear stuff. I'm like, that sounds great. I don't even know what it is,
Yeah.
That Money is a good example. I don't really know what's going on, but it's just so good. I feel like my AI DJ now. I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but it's got such a good vibe. I'm so happy,
Have you listened to Paco Amoroso?
No, I'm gonna write.
Catriel and Paco Amoroso. I might be butchering that name, but they're getting really popular and insanely good.
Nice. Okay, I'm in.
Also, any Tiny Desk concert you can is a good use of time.
That's true. Tiny Desk is amazing. Yes, I love that. Max, thanks for coming on. I will put some of your Discord and your Substack. I always put it in the show notes so that people find out about what you're doing.
Okay.
But thanks so much for coming on. This was great. I appreciate all your insights today, and I know everybody will love it. So this was great. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.